Happy New Year, everybody. We finally made it through 2020, a crazy year full of pandemics, recessions, uprisings, and tricking people on Zoom into thinking you're wearing a full suit. In this reflective moment, I want to take just a couple of minutes to share with you what we accomplished together in year one to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And then take another couple minutes to share with you a vision for what I hope to accomplish with you in year two. Let's do it. In response to the largest movement in American history demanding justice for Black lives, my office proposed Charter Amendment number 6, which passed on the ballot and will now allow the King County Council to reshape our vision for public safety, going from one that deploys armed police officers to respond to every challenge in our region to one that's rooted in community-based alternatives and public health options. I also worked with my colleagues on the council to launch a campaign to pass all the other charter amendments. Oh yes, on all 7 charter amendments, these are our charters for justice, which will allow us to build more affordable housing, ban discrimination on the basis of citizenship, expand rights for families who are victims of police violence, and also allow our oversight board to actually investigate the police. My office also worked with our King County executive and colleagues on the council to make unprecedented levels of investment into Skyway, the unincorporated neighborhood in my district, which is home to 70% people of color and the highest proportion of African Americans in the entire state of Washington.
Because of our work and the work of tireless community advocates, for the first time, we're spending $10 million on a new Skyway Community Center, $6 million in new Metro service, which will put 32,000 hours of new public transportation into Skyway, $5 million of affordable housing into Skyway, $750,000 into designing a new system of public safety there, redirecting $4.6 million of marijuana tax revenue from the sheriff's office into our community-based programming, and finally creating a $10 million pot of participatory budgeting funds, which will allow the community itself to dictate how they want to spend those monies, whether it's on infrastructure or housing or programming in the area.
My office worked with various government agencies and community-based organizations to identify underutilized public land and transfer that land to community for housing. The Youth Achievement Center is one such example of this, where a coalition of youth told us that their primary need in King County is a safe place to live. So we worked with those youth, organizations that serve them, Sound Transit, the King County Assessor's Office, University of Washington, and King County to identify land in Columbia City, transfer it to Community Land Trust, and build housing for our youth who are housing unstable, impacted by our criminal justice system, or at risk in general. On the topic of youth, my office also proposed and passed the My Chance Dunlap Gittens Youth Rights Ordinance. This was a community-led initiative which requires that young people age 18 and under be given a public defender before they waive their Miranda rights in front of police. Along with my council colleagues, my office also proposed and passed legislation that will protect renters in court who couldn't afford to pay rent because of financial impacts of the pandemic. I also worked with my colleagues on the council, the executive branch, and our public health agencies to pass multiple COVID-19 economic and health relief packages. We sent out millions of dollars worth of rental assistance, food vouchers, mobile testing, masks, and countless other services to respond to the crisis that we were in. My office proposed and passed digital equity funding to provide internet services in marginalized communities. We supported small businesses by passing small business grants, and I personally walked around neighborhoods in my district to make sure that small business owners knew about this form of support. My office helped to launch a regional gun violence strategy by equipping our community-based violence interrupters and our public health agencies with the resources needed to continue doing the great work they do to disrupt violence before it happens. We also made government more accessible by using social media in creative ways, by holding virtual town halls, by facilitating workshops on the budget and policy. In that way, we brought in new voices and accomplished good work together. I've shared with you some of our budgetary and legislative victories, but those don't speak to the advocacy side of the job. I've said from the beginning, when I first took the oath of office for this role, that I will be a grassroots elected official, one who builds with community on the ground, and this whole year I have showed up. I've showed up to our marches, I've showed up to our jails, I've showed up to our protests, I've showed up to the courts, I've showed up to respond to fires, I've showed up at our high schools, our middle schools, our elementary schools. I came out to key parts of our district to hand out tons and tons of masks to our community. I want to keep doing that in year 2, and if I ever become relaxed on that side of the job, I want you to hold me accountable, because to me, that public engagement on the ground, grassroots building side of the job is the single most important side of the job. Okay, that was year 1 in a nutshell. I think I'm going to take a quick break before I do the year 2 video. In this next video, I'm going to share with you a vision for year 2, what we plan to work on, and please give me and my team feedback, because your priorities will be our priorities as well. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Look out for a year 2 video coming soon.